you can ask yourself, you have a sort of split personality. It's called left brain and right brain consciousness. When you're in a regression, you're seeing someone, for instance, I would see someone and I could say in my mind, do I know this person in my present life? That person's face would change into who it is in the present life.
Actually, funnily enough, I thought this was all too much of a coincidence, but I was talking to Ben Frau, our designer. He's a Buddhist, and he says that actually Buddhists do believe that when you come back in a future life, it's no coincidence that you are with certain people. You have been with these people, like your family, and in various ways in your past life. They call them your
soul family, actually. You reincarnate with the same people over and over again to work out situations. For instance, a father in one life might be your son in the next life, to balance out situations and work things out. That's why sometimes in a lifetime you'll have an unusual amount of anger towards a parent, and there's no basis for that anger. It's often because it was created in a previous lifetime already.
Very quickly, I've heard you say before that you know where Guinevere was buried.
Yes.
Which must mean that your spirit was floating around.
Yes, you hang around.
Why don't you prove yourself right and let's go and dig you up?
Actually, her grave was already dug up in the 12th century by monks. She was buried on top of Arthur. That grave was moved to a marble tomb under the eyes of King Edward and Queen Eleanor in the 13th century. And that grave survived until, I believe, 1539, until dissolution.
We can't do that. All right. Nice to talk to you.
She'll be back later.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I mean in this life.
Yes.
In this show, actually.
She'll be back forever. If you're convinced that you've led another life, a lot of people are, whether as Napoleon, Joan of Arc, or just a plain bystander in the great pageant of history, you can't be Guinevere. We've got one. That position's filled. Give us a ring now on the usual number, 051 555 1000, and ask her a question as well as telling us your experience. We want to hear from you.
Do you, by the way, do you always come back as the same sex?
No.
You can
different races, different sex.
Oh,
through my work in past life therapy, some of the most enjoyable things was taking men through previous lifetimes where they were giving birth. That was really wonderful.
That's revenge, isn't it, really?
Yes, it is.
Well, we've got, I think, a lot of contenders for Napoleon and Cleopatra. We've not so far heard from anyone claiming they're Hitler or Crippen, so come on, confess, in the phone-in. Coming next, it's the Lancelots of the Catwalk and the Guinevere of Glamour, Linda Lusardi, and our search for the new male supermodel.
Queen Guinevere is here. Hello. Hello. All right, we've had lots of calls on reincarnation. So, should we take them and you can bring your expertise to bear?
By all means.
OK, Chris Jessamyn's first from Bournemouth. Hi, Chris.
Good morning.
Morning. It says here you've always been a skeptic, but I think that's a typing error. You've always been a skeptic. You've always been a skeptic, have you?
Yes, up until the experience that I had when I was in France a few years ago.
Tell us all about it.
Well, I had always had a recurring dream of a crossroads. I didn't know where it was, but you know how you... when you're working or something and a place comes into your mind or you dream about somewhere, and it was this particular crossroads. And then some years ago we were motoring in France, and we're driving along a road we didn't know because we'd actually got lost, and suddenly came to this crossroads, and I stopped the car because I was driving, and I said, this is the crossroads, and my former wife who was with me said, you mean the crossroads of your dream, because I talked about it, and I said yes. So there was a tobacco on the corner, so we went in and had a cup of coffee, asked the proprietor of the tobacco about the crossroads and where we were and so forth, and it turns out it was a crossroads where highwaymen were hanged.
Good God.
There are a number of other things, that is, I speak French pretty fluently and have never really learnt French as such.
Give us a burst now.
Well, burst of French.
Yeah.
Eh bien, bonjour monsieur, comment allez-vous?
Yeah, that's right, that'll do. Nice accent.
Très bien, oui, merci.
OK, go on.
OK, well, and there's one other thing, and that is that I have a fear of choking. I catch my breath very easily, like that, and I have a fear of choking to death. And, of course, if a highwayman was hanged, they didn't just jerk him into the air.
No.
They
were strangled on the road.
Let him strangle, you know.
I think that is spooky.
Well, it is a bit spooky. I mean, Laurel, I'm sure, has got lots to say about that. But have you ever actually tried this regression therapy, which Laurel specialises in?
No, I haven't. But in fact, I've always been fascinated by it because I remember many years ago the Bloxham tapes, and I can remember a lot about that. And I've always thought it would be a very interesting thing to do.
This was the hypnotherapist who took many, many different people back in time, and they all had extraordinary stories to tell with astonishing detail of past lives, which was very, very curious. What do you think about this? Was he a highwayman, do you think?
Very likely. For one thing, if you have a phobia or a fear of dying in some way, it's pretty well guaranteed you've done it. A lot of people who have a fear of drowning, hanging, they've done it. They've been through that death experience before. You carry forward fears, especially if it's been a traumatic death for you, a very quick death. You have a tendency to carry it forward into a present lifetime. Also, I'd like to encourage you to keep being skeptical, because it's healthy to be skeptical. I always encourage people, unless you've experienced it for yourself, don't go by what somebody says, you know, just because they said, oh, this is me.
Or I'm Guinevere.
Exactly. Try it for yourself always.
But, I mean, would you advise someone like Chris, who suspects he might have had a particularly unpleasant death, to have this regression therapy? Because, I mean, might he not experience the hanging?
He would re-experience it again. And that's the necessity, actually, of going through a regression, to re-experience it and get out the emotions that you suppressed during the actual experience in a past life. That's what you're carrying forward. You're carrying forward the emotions of that lifetime. For instance, if you were strangled, very likely you didn't get to scream, you didn't get to yell in that lifetime. So by going through a regression now, you would be able to yell, you'd be able to get out the emotions that you held inside of you in that time. It sounds like it can be very traumatic and very frightening, but it's not. If you have a qualified regression therapist that you feel very safe with, someone you feel comfortable with and safe with is what's most important.
I have to say, about 2 years ago, we had a regression therapist on the programme, and she took one of her patients back, who was a foot soldier with the British Army in France, in his previous life apparently, and he was shot with a musket ball. And he went through the whole bit about leading a charge and everything, and then he got shot, as it were, on air, and then came to, and he was fine, happy as a lamb.
We weren't, though.
We weren't, no.
We were terrified.
A good point is that you aren't reliving the experience, you're remembering the experience.
Yes.
Like remembering something in your childhood. You always are in complete control when you're in a regression. If for any reason you're frightened, you just open your eyes and you'll be fine.
Chris, that was a fascinating story. Would you go for some regression therapy then?
You'll
think about it?
Yeah, I'll think about it.
Very quickly,
yeah.
What's your job?
Unfortunately, I'm unemployed, and being just over 50, I'm in my dotage, apparently, according to the employers.
Well,
perhaps you should take up
a bit of highway robbery. That might help.
Good at it.
All right, Chris, thank you very much for your call. That was a good one to start off with. I want to go to Amanda Harvey now.